Welcome to TM Radio Broadcasting. My name is Frank Allen. We are live from Boston, Massachusetts. It is Wednesday, February 17th, in the year of our Lord, 2023. Today we have the opportunity to spend some time with Stephen Marvin, moderator for Targeted UK, member of ICATOR, supporter, and good friend. TM Radio Broadcasting is a listener-funded radio station. We are the only radio station formed for and dedicated to targeted individuals and their human rights. Donations may be made through the Allen Institute for Human Rights at AIHR.Foundation or through targetedmassachusetts.org, both by computer. To receive our newsletter, go to targetedmassachusetts.org by desktop or laptop. There you will see a blue drop-down menu. You can add your email address there. And so, we have Stephen Marvin. Go ahead, Steve.
Hello, Frank. It's nice to be back again, and thank you for having me, and good evening to all your listeners.
Oh, I'm sure that they have pored over previous episodes, and we're really happy to see that you're coming back.
Well, I hope I can share some good news tonight, anyway, regarding the UK lawsuit.
Right. And I know Allison works very, very hard, and I wish she was here with us tonight, but
Yes,
she can't be.
Yeah. She works a little too hard. She's been a fantastic asset to the targeted community in the UK. Worldwide as well.
Are you having any protests at 10 Downing Street? I know that...
I'm not sure. Mark Williams did run the last one, and that is on YouTube, and his speech was really fantastic. But hopefully this year we will get something arranged.
Good. I'd like to have a copy of that speech or that video, and with his permission, put it on our site as well.
Yes, it's on his YouTube channel. Yeah, he's got his loudspeaker outside number 10 Downing Street in London.
They must love
and
that.
He's giving them hell.
Well, it's not like they don't deserve it.
Well, definitely, yeah. They've done nothing for us so far. I've contacted a number of MPs. To his credit, my current MP, he did actually acknowledge it. And I am going to put his email, his letter that he sent to me on the Targeted UK website eventually. But the previous Member of Parliament did absolutely nothing. That was Dennis Skinner, who is a firebrand, anti-establishment person. But when I contacted him, he did nothing. But Mark Williams, the current MP, Member of Parliament, who replaced Skinner, he actually acknowledged my targeting. So I was quite pleased with him, and he was a Conservative MP. I've contacted George Galloway. I've contacted those members of Parliament who are, generally speaking, anti-establishment, people like Jeremy Corbyn, George Galloway. I'm sure you're familiar with Corbyn and Galloway in America. And they're decent people, in my opinion, but they've done nothing. They're aware of it. I know Jeremy Corbyn suffered a lot of flack and propaganda against him, from the BBC, made up a lot of stories about him. But to his shame, he's done nothing so far for the targeted community. And I'm sure other people apart from me have contacted him. My mum contacted him. Uh, Pretty disgusting, really.
It can be.
Probably scared as well.
We've had we've had one gentleman from the state of Maine, and he went to his local representative, his congressman, and when he got back home, the police were waiting for him.
Right.
You
Yes.
cannot tell your story in this country. I,
Yes, it's gone like East Germany, Stasi.
exactly. And what people are taught in universities today is socialism. And I just saw a presentation on it. And this person claims, she's from North Korea, she
Yeah.
claims that the education that she is receiving here emulates the same education that she was getting in North Korea relative to
Yes.
socialism and the like.
It doesn't surprise me. Yeah. Yeah. Some socialist countries though have done a lot for their people. Fidel Castro, fair enough. There is a repressive element, but even in Cuba, but the embargo was a terrible thing that the US put on him, and he has done a lot of good things. Well, he's died now, but even there, it wasn't the kind of repression that we're seeing now with free speech. Because my friend went to Cuba on holiday about 15 years ago. It was under Fidel Castro, and he said that free speech was reasonable there. They could criticize government officials, government policy. He says he said that they told him they would just kind of run into trouble if they started to set up another political party and try to vie for power, things like that. But he said on the whole, the people were reasonably free, but obviously they had to be a bit careful. But he said that the freedom of speech wasn't such a bad problem there. But over here and in the US, it's ridiculous. I mean, you can get a visit from the police just by tweeting something. It's gone crazy.
It has. It's gone
It's more
mad.
like the
It,
yeah, it's more like the Chinese socialist system, which is horrible. That is a terrible socialist system. Even in Yugoslavia, I go to Croatia on holiday every year, and I've spoke to people there, some elderly people who can remember the Tito. Can you remember Marshal Tito of Yugoslavia?
yes,
They said it was more liberal then than now. It's
I agree.
it's I mean, they could leave the country, go on holiday to Western states, and they could listen to the Beatles, the music. It wasn't like the Soviet Union over there. It was more of a liberal kind of socialist system. And I think even opposition parties could stand under Marshal Tito. So some socialist systems are not all like China. I mean, that is just a horrible regime. And
It,
the Soviet Union was as well, and the East Germany. But that's what it's heading for in the UK and the US. If it's not halted, we need to put a stop to digital currency, things like that. It will be a nightmare totalitarian state if that happens. And I think the targeted individual community, it's all linked up to this, the digital currency, getting people under total control. It's quite scary, but I'm pretty optimistic they will fail.
I tend to agree with you. In the U.S., they have put forth a bill that says that the Treasury or the president can take funds from your bank account
Yes.
anytime they need money. I'm sure
It's
you've read at length
yes.
about that. And that's
Yeah. Well,
something that we can't have.
definitely. Well, can you remember what they did to the Canadian Truckers Union during the COVID
Yes,
demonstrations?
yes, I do.
They confiscated, was it $10 million in Bitcoin donations from the general public? Uh, that was just totally outrageous. The Trudeau regime is really nasty. It's a very nasty regime.
Well, they have to let people be heard. People have to
Definitely.
get their voices out. They have to.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
in this
Yeah.
country, more than any other, I think this has to be done. Now, I am
Yes.
one who lives in the U.S., and you have to live in the U.S. to admire Parliament. But I love
Yeah.
your Parliament in the fact that the Prime Minister is right out there where they can snag him and
Yeah.
talk to him. In the U.S., you cannot talk to the President. Uh,
Yes.
he
Yeah.
will address the Senate, Congress, and whatnot, but he will not make himself available. Uh,
Terrible.
oh,
Yeah.
I
Well,
wanted.
look.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, look what they did with the Canadian truckers, the demonstration. They turned on the microwave weapons and burnt some of them in Canada.
Yeah, they did some terrible things. I thought that was a brilliant demonstration, and they should
Yes,
have
and
just
in
let it go on.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and in Australia, was it LRAD? They fired the LRAD weapon at the demonstrators in Australia during the lockdown, and I think was it a 10-year-old girl got burnt on her face. That I saw pictures of that. It's just totally outrageous.
yes, and LRAD has been known, I believe it's LRAD, to pop
Mm,
eardrums because it
yes,
sends such a shrieking noise if set
yes,
to that particular function, I guess.
yeah. It's just outrageous behaviour. I think we've seen the police forces in Western Europe just totally gone rogue. My opinion, too much power. Basically, they've got too much power, and as we all know, they're using the mental health legislation to smear and in my case, frame targeted individuals. It's a total outrage,
Yes,
but these people will get the justice served on them eventually.
yes, I believe at 7 o'clock in the morning they will get a visit from the federal government, and their doors will get kicked in, and they will be arrested and
Yes, yes.
incarcerated, or worse.
Well, in my opinion, I've always been against the death penalty, but for this particular crime, I think it's a necessity.
There has to be an example set.
Definitely, because after MK Ultra, look what happened to Ewan. Was it to Ewan Cameron,
Right, that's correct.
the CIA psychiatrist? He got away scot free and was lauded even after MK Ultra became public and it was exposed. No charges were ever brought against him, and he was lauded. Incredible. If that man had faced proper justice, perhaps the targeting system, the targeting that we're suffering now, would not have happened. They were more or less let off, weren't they? The MK Ultra people.
Yes, and some of them did bring a legal action against the state of
Yes,
Canada, and they
yes,
were awarded some funds. But how there is no price you can put on a minute of an individual's
no,
life.
no. Especially someone as well who's got voice to skull continually. It's I never had it, but the voice to skull, I just got the heavy gang stalking and the microwave weapon attacks. But the voice to skull must be horrific.
Yes, it is.
Well, I
It's
know it is because they use it on my sister as well. She's had it, and she lives 10 miles away from me.
oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. Uh,
Yeah. They targeted both me, my mom, and my sister.
Stephen, can you go into as much detail as you can about Tim's case, um,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
about his background, possibly for the listeners?
Yes. Well, Tim is a. I'll not give his second name. Just
That's okay.
I'm sure many viewers may know his second name because they will have seen his GoFundMe on his Twitter account and will have read things posted on his Twitter account. But as these cases now are ongoing, it's probably best for me to be a little bit careful. But basically, Timothy is he lives in London and he's a biomedical scientist and he has a master's degree in chemistry and I believe he's a member of the Royal Society of Chemists. He's also got a background in law. His family, some members of his family are lawyers, but they live abroad. But Tim, I believe he's always had an interest in law, and his previous job before he got targeted, he was working as a legal compliance advisor for hospitals, doctors' surgeries, things like that. He would generally explain to them what the law is on certain things, such as the Mental Health Act, and what they can and can't do to people, things like that, prescriptions.
that's a
Uh,
that's a
Basically,
terrible person to go up against.
yes, I think they've made a huge mistake. Uh, and basically, he got targeted, I believe it was approximately 2 years ago. And this was some kind of dispute with his employer, who I'm having to be careful what I say because I'm sure they may be listening, the perpetrators. So the thing is, they could use anything I say against the court case. So I'd better not name anyone.
No,
Uh,
be discreet. That's all. Mention no
yes,
names, just
yeah,
deeds.
yeah. I'm just I'm thinking before I speak. Yes. So he had a dispute with his former employer. Uh, he left the firm he was working for and he became targeted. Heavy gang stalking, and he was also attacked with microwave weapons, the electronic pulses, similar to what I had. And he went into hospital one day complaining of an injury to his heart. I believe he was getting arrhythmia, heart arrhythmia. And he went into the casualty ward, signed himself into the casualty ward at a nearby hospital. And he told them what he thought was doing it. He was getting electric shocks, things like that, direct hits on his heart, and they attempted to section him, and they technically didn't do it because Tim did not cooperate with them, as he knows exactly the law. He wouldn't sign any papers or anything like that. Uh, but they kept him in for 2 days when they tried to, or did they did section him, but it's not a really legal what they did by all accounts. So Tim is suing the hospital for basically kidnapping him. He's also suing someone else. Basically, when a victim goes to the state for any help regarding targeting, uh, Tim is suing all of these kinds of people who get involved with us. That's the best way to describe it, because I don't want to prejudice the case, obviously.
Oh, God,
But
no.
yeah, yeah,
We don't
yeah,
want to do anything to jeopardize that.
yeah, yeah. So he's suing the hospital, someone else. Uh, he's also got a group litigation case that's for all UK members, all UK victims who have been targeted in the UK, and people who have been hit on the UK soil. So if you were on holiday here, you could join, but I think it's probably a bit too late now. But we've got two people residing in America who are part of the lawsuit,
Very good.
but the rest are British victims, and that was filed in November. So we're just waiting for that to proceed. We've all completed witness statements, and they've been filed, I believe. And at the moment, Tim is just selecting a few of the group litigation members who he is going to ask to submit a sworn affidavit. I'm just working on mine now. We're probably going to have five people out of the group send sworn affidavits to the court. Me, my mum, we're working on ours, because what happened to me regarding the sectioning, and then what happened to my mum regarding the attempted sectioning of her on the same day is highly suspicious. I believe they made a big mistake coming after my mum on the same day, actually. At midnight, she had a knock at the door at midnight, and they were going to section her. They'd already fabricated. Shall I go into the details regarding my
Yes.
sectioning, Tim?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's all very strange and suspicious. I sent my witness statement. You remember Catherine Horton's sworn affidavits?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Mum and I did that for Catherine, and we sent them to her on the 28th of August 2019. 2 weeks later, I got a knock at the door, and it was NHS and police. They said to me that a report was made, a phone call was made to my local doctor's surgery that I had been seen carrying a gun and acting strange.
Huh. That doesn't sound like the Stephen that I know.
No, no, no. Since then, I've got the records. Apparently, a phone call was made to my doctor's surgery 1 week after I sent the affidavit to Catherine Horton. Uh, and then the week after that, two weeks after I sent the affidavit, they came in, sectioned me with this trumped up story, a fabrication, and I was stuck in the hospital for 3 weeks, just over 3 weeks. But on that day when they sectioned me, that was about 4 o'clock, a Friday afternoon. They came back to the house thinking that my mum was alone, which she wasn't. My sister had stayed with her. Police and psychiatrists came and started quizzing my mum about microwave weapons and gang stalking. And basically, it was an intimidation theatre done against my mum. But I do believe that Tim agrees that they were going to section her because the police were there.
I
It
see.
was one police officer, I believe, one psychiatrist, two NHS workers uh, came to the house at midnight on the same day that they sectioned me. And they're refusing to give the name of the person that made the phone call who lied about me. Uh, I've got to the bottom of it. I've got the dates when all this thing happened. Even my own GP told a lie to me. He first said that there was never a phone call made to the surgery. But I've got some records from the NHS. There was. So he lied to me. That was Dr. Chatterjee, sadly. He lied to me. There definitely was a phone call, but it's who made the phone call. That's who we want to know.
Right,
And
and Stephen, that's bearing false witness.
yes,
And
yes, because I want to sue them. Yeah,
how does that person on the other end of the phone, what
yeah,
right
and
does he have to say
yeah,
that you are crazy, carrying a gun, whatever?
yeah.
That's crazy.
I probably was carrying a camera, and obviously to capture images of the gang stalkers, get the vehicle registration number plates. And the police knew very well that I was going out with a camera because I had already told them that I take out a camera with me every time I go out. I'd been doing that for 3 months. So why did the police act on something so stupid?
Because they could.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Well,
Tim
that,
thinks it was an MI5 entrapment.
well, they must be very good at it. They can manipulate the system to suit them.
Yes, and they've got NHS workers who are oblivious to targeting. They don't understand any of it. The lower level ones anyway. The nurses, psychiatric nurses. But I'm sure that the some of the psychiatrists, the older ones, are aware of it. The woman that the psychiatrist who sectioned me was Dr. Amy Harford, a horrible woman, and she was grinning as she was sectioning me.
Grinning, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, my mum was getting really stroppy with her at the time as well, but she found it all quite funny. But one day, that smile maybe wiped off her ugly face.
Well, when she's on the wrong side in the courtroom, it definitely will.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
These people will get their comeuppance eventually.
I'll fly to
It,
see that.
yeah, yeah. Well, we're never going to give in, are we, Frank?
No,
They've
we're not.
significantly destroyed my life, so I want to exact the same revenge, but always legally. It's
Yeah, I'd like to separate something for our listeners. What is
yes,
privacy worth? Privacy, 100% privacy in your own home, in your own
mm,
bedroom. What is that
yeah,
worth?
yeah, yeah,
Apart
yeah,
from your life, just your privacy.
yes, yes. Well, a targeted person has no privacy, do they?
No, we don't.
Yeah, even the first week I got targeted, uh, I've probably told this before. Looking back, I could see I was probably being targeted a few months before, but when I first became aware of it, it was June 12th, 2019. I got hit. It was nearly midnight, and I got hit on the side of the head with a electric shock, and it was painful, fairly painful, but not something that could knock you over. It was like an electric shock when if you pull the plug in the mains out. It was kind of like that, a jolt. It was fairly painful. Uh, and then the following day, when I was walking the dog, I noticed the stalking. Basically, that's when they made it all overt. But strange things were happening prior to that, and I was oblivious looking back. But during that same week, when I first realized I was targeted, probably about 5 days after, it was a really quiet Thursday morning, I believe it was, and we'd not got the television on. It was really quiet, no wind outside, anything like that. Summer's day, and I previously earlier on in the morning I'd gone to check buy a new mobile phone. I got stalked on the way to the shop. I travelled about 3 miles in the car to a phone shop to get a new mobile because I couldn't understand how they knew wherever I was going, I was being stalked. So I thought they must have obviously hacked in the phone. Uh, so I'd got this new mobile phone. I set it up Thursday morning, I believe, and I thought I would try it out and ring my cousin in Wales. I'd got the SIM card in and set it up. I phoned my cousin in Wales, and Mum said as I was dialing his number and the phone was ringing just before we started, she heard the neighbour next door shout to her husband, and she shouted, "He's got a new mobile phone." She could hear it. She could hear her voice through the wall.
Wow.
So my next door neighbour is clearly a police snitch, and I confronted him about it. It was actually last year. He was trying to be friendly again, and I asked him about it. He just went bright red and didn't answer.
Now, I
So
wonder who would be paying them? Who would be
I
paying
would
your neighbor?
I would think it's probably police. I would say it was. Are you familiar with the stingrays?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe it was probably that he had, because I personally, this is where I disagree, and it was a great interview with David Rubel. I agreed with 99% of what he said. That it is a mixed bag, the gang stalking. I'm sure that some people around the victim, the main victim, they're targeted as well to do the strange things. They may well be oblivion. They may well be oblivious of it. Kind of like they're Manchurian candidates and don't realise it's a mixed bag, I think. But to be fair to David, he did say gang stalking is real as well. But I think he underestimates how many people are willingly involved, because I've had probably 20 on me in one go, uh, going through a large town. So I think it's a pretty big network, and it must be controlled ultimately by the police and MI5, in my opinion,
I
because
would say that's probably a very good, I'm not even going to say guess. That's a good opinion, and I will
yeah,
probably second that for sure.
yeah, yeah, because the technology they've got, they could pull these people in straight away. Really, it's it's quite ridiculous to say that they. I mean, they just basically act dumb when you report it to them. I mean, I know a lot of police officers do have like an IQ, uh, perhaps similar to a fridge, but there's so many victims saying the same thing. It's not delusion. It's just ridiculous. The shenanigans that they pull on targeted victims. It's ridiculous, and it's disgusting as well. I've lost all respect for the police. Uh, I'm
Well,
not saying every single officer is involved, because that would be a bit silly, but a large amount of them must be aware of what's going on, and probably some are too scared to speak out, and some are. in my opinion, definitely directly involved in it because I got stalked by a Derbyshire police vehicle. Vehicle is stalked on
Is
the
that
same day
right?
that I actually first reported it. I was taking my previous dog to the vets, and he tailgated me on the way, flashed his lights, and then sped off, overtook me, and it was quite a dangerous thing to do. What he did, and he
Certainly
was
was.
also present. He was also present when they sectioned me as well, Frank.
The same gentleman was present when you were sectioned?
He was there with the sergeant Neil Milner. It was Neil Milner, the highest ranking officer there, Sergeant Neil Milner of Derbyshire Police Force. He, the stalking one was there. Uh, Probably about four or five others, and there was Dr. Amy Harford, the very obnoxious psychiatrist there. She actually signed the sectioning form as well.
She did. Well, you know
Yeah.
what I think, Stephen, would help? Uh, in the
Yes.
U.S., we have had V2K papers by scientists appear
Yes.
in the American Psychologist. And
Yes.
obviously, if they appear there, they are approved. So,
Yes, they're legitimate documents.
right, we have to have education in the UK, the US, all over the world of
Yes.
the local police, the medical community. I don't think we have
Yes.
to educate the federal people at all, do you?
No, no.
Oh,
I think
have you had any balloons go over your head over there yet?
no, not yet. But it's laughable, isn't it? Really, the balloon story. It's
It is. I think that they were going to get a squirrel gun and take a shot at it there at the end.
yes,
But they finally sent a plane up.
yeah.
It,
But who knows what's behind this balloon thing? It's all very suspicious. It's they seem to be going on about UFOs all the time, don't they? Now Congress. I can't understand. I mean, some people are saying that they may try and pull a fake UFO invasion next, the CIA. And was it Werner von Braun warned about it though, didn't he? The NASA guy.
yes, he did. It, it's
Uh,
uh,
n-
it's incredible
not,
the way what people will believe in place of
yes,
what is. They already said that that balloon came from China, the first one,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
that's the one that skated all the way across the United States, mapped out all of our nuclear silos, and then
yeah,
was shot off the South Carolina coast.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's sick. It really is.
It doesn't add up, does it? Why did they not shoot it down straight away?
That's right.
It's just it's a bit like 9/11. Nothing worked, did it? The air defense system suddenly didn't work on 9/11. It's
Right. Prime Minister Trudeau, I think, is responsible for having the one shot, the second one, or second or third. We had actually four of
yes,
them all together, but I think it
yes.
was Prime.
He was taking credit for it. Yes,
Well, yeah, he has to get up on the soapbox.
yeah. He's a horrible person. It's
I don't know
I'm
that
sure if
much
some
about the
people
man.
say he's Fidel Castro's illegitimate child, don't they?
I've heard that before.
I'm sure. I think even Fidel would disown him.
I know there'd be questions there.
Yes. Yeah, well, apparently his mum was a friend of Castro's. So there may be something. He does look a bit like a young Fidel Castro as well.
Yeah, well, I can't deny that. He's got to grow a beard and get all unkempt a little bit, and
Yeah,
maybe,
he'll start putting on his army fatigues next.
oh God, I wonder where they get all the medals. I mean, all
Yes.
of a sudden they're dictators and they come up with all these medals. I mean, do you go to your medal
Yes.
store and pick them up or what?
Yes. It's pathetic, isn't it? It's
I know. How many TIs do you think are in the UK, Stephen? I know you guys have a very good idea, I think, but
yes.
I
Well, the
have,
numbers
yeah,
on the targeted UK website, I believe we've got about 1,400 members, 1,400. So I would say there's a lot more than that. My my rough guess would be 15 to 20,000.
okay. That's more within the percentages that I thought because you
Mm.
are what 60 million,
67 million.
67 million. Okay, it's gone up a
Yeah.
couple. And
Yeah, but you just think in the UK there is 50,000 towns, cities, and villages altogether. So if they're just targeting one person in each town or village or city, and that would be quite easy for them to get away with. It could even be higher.
yes, but the targeting is spread out. In the US it's
Yes.
spread out. Even
Yeah,
in the
deliberately so. Yeah.
right, even in the state of Massachusetts it's spread out. I'll
Yeah.
give you an example. If you want to have a meeting, you're going to have it just south of Boston, or you're going to have it on the Cape. And, people don't want to drive 2.5, 3 hours to get to a meeting, so you have it in their area. And the next time you have it in somebody else's area. So it's,
Yes.
we haven't gone that far, but it's,
Yes.
they're usually
And
always held
probably,
in one place.
yeah. And probably my rough estimation of 15 to 20,000, some of those victims may well not even be aware that they are targeted.
Yeah, I'll tell you once again. I mean, I tell everyone. I think you can break it down into percentiles simply by saying that, okay, 25% are in mental institutions across
Yes.
the country. Another
Yes.
25% are jailed across the country.
Yes.
25% have not been found yet or don't wish to become a part. And the other
Yes.
25 are us, you and I, and everybody that's come forward.
Yes. Yes. So it could. Anna Toledo, did she say on that latest interview she estimated it at 300,000?
I believe so.
Yeah. Yeah. So if there's 50,000 towns, villages, and cities in the UK, you've got a population much bigger, 7 times more,
Yeah,
around
worth
about 350 million, roughly.
328, 29 probably last time I looked, I
Yeah.
think.
So imagine you will have a lot more towns, villages, cities than the UK. So it's probably 200,000 easily, I would say, in the US.
I
And
agree with you. I think the number is a little higher, uh,
yeah,
just in view of the land mass itself. They could
yes,
there are more towns than you can believe.
yes, yeah, yeah.
They're
It's
whistle
sad
stop.
as well
You
that
know,
these people have been in. There was one lady who was speaking. She said uh, that she was institutionalized for 7 years, and
7 years.
yes, yeah, yeah,
I cannot imagine that.
yeah,
And how was
yeah.
she able to free herself?
I can't remember. It was on. She was on Roy's show. She was a really nice lady, and she said she was in for 7 years on and off. Perhaps not all in one go, but they were uh, uh, letting her out temporarily, and it was a 7 year ordeal with the mental health people. It is disgraceful. It's
Yes, it is. And just
yeah.
to get back to David Rubel for a minute, uh,
Mm.
he would like to contact or be a part of the UK as well. And maybe we could have a show with David Rubel and maybe Mark Williams, yourself, Allison. I don't know. I'm not sure. But
Yeah,
he
I'll definitely
wants,
speak to
yeah,
them. Yes,
because
we can sort it out, Frank. Yes,
he's very, very intelligent. And
very. Yeah, I'm really impressed by him, and he's such a nice, modest guy as well, isn't he?
yes, he is. Now, I drove all the way down to see this device. And
Yes.
it was very impressive when the cover came off of it. But unfortunately, the woman that owned it could not get it to work. She is well known now. Her name is Charisse Williams.
Yes, she's the military lady,
Yes,
isn't she?
exactly.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I'm sure he's doing a great job with that, and it does seem to be helping victims. I've had a few on Derek Robinson's show, and they've said it's definitely helped.
Okay, I'd like to see some more results from this machine. He's
Yeah,
continually updating the software and the hardware. And this is something
yeah,
that I think is going to be a very, very impressive unit. It's only
definitely.
in
Yes,
the very beginning stages.
yeah,
It's not even hardly out of the box yet. And there are many people that
yes.
like it. And
He's done a fantastic job. To say that he's been targeted and he's had health problems as well, hasn't he?
he has, he had a
Yeah,
severe anxiety issue here a while back. And I think he was just overwhelmed, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's done a fantastic job.
So what we need to do is I'd like to get all of the information that you would like to share about Targeted UK, and we'll put it on a page, and you can you can take whatever information you like documents, whatever you like, put them on the UK site, your site,
Yes, yeah,
and
definitely.
we can
Yes,
trade some information that way.
yeah. I'll have a word with Alison and Mark.
Okay, and we'll have your link handy,
Yes,
right on
yeah,
the first page, and we'll be able to do what I wanted to do to begin with. Start our hands across the water
definitely, Frank.
crusade.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's unity is strength.
That's right. And we have so many people working on countermeasures. Somebody might hit on the exact frequency that we need to fight these
Mm,
things.
yeah, I was very lucky that I didn't get the voice to skull. It was just the microwave pulses, and I got three. I got two microwave pulses. One, these are what I'm aware of. Amy Holm told me that I believe I told you that I had the thermal imaging body scan with Amy when she came to England. That was it just before Christmas in November, and I had the thermal imaging scan, and she picked up the microwave attacks under my skin. She picked up laser weapon attacks, and also I believe she definitely picked. I think it was either in my well the second directed energy weapon attack that I had. Uh, I first got hit Wednesday night. The second one was a massive hit. This was Friday morning, 3 days, 3 or 4 days after the first of this attack. It knocked me off my feet. It was that powerful, and it sent me temporarily unconscious because I was gasping for air. It hit me in the solar plexus, the chest,
Is that right?
and
It knocked the wind right out of you then.
yep, and it knocked me off my feet. It was that powerful. It was absolutely, and the pain was excruciating. I've never felt pain like that before. It was horrific. After 20 minutes, though, I was probably only unconscious for about 20 seconds. I think I'm
Right.
not sure,
Now, were you
but I was
fine after that, correct?
yeah. After 20 minutes, everything seemed to wear off. I'd got a dry. I was having difficulty breathing. When I regained consciousness, I'd got blurred vision, an incredibly dry mouth. I couldn't. I was having difficulty swallowing, breathing. I got like a ringing in my ear as well, if I recall. But after 20 minutes, it all just disappeared. But
Correct.
all I can remember is gasping for breath on the floor after it. And at the time, I was 13 and a half stone, and it knocked me in the air backwards.
Wow.
Uh, and I probably went about a foot in the air. But the pain, I can remember the pain. It was horrific,
Now,
really
what
horrific.
direction did that come from? Uh,
It came, both of them, when I got hit in my house. It came from across the road,
okay.
and the person that lives there is a former military person, and I've checked his Facebook account, and he was an electronics expert in the UK Royal Air Force.
Okay,
So,
that explains a lot, doesn't it?
yep, I think I think he's the prime suspect.
Okay, now
Then
Okay, go
I
ahead.
got hit again though. A few days later, I was at my uncle's house, and Amy's probably picked up this attack on the thermal imaging scan. Well, she said there were quite a few. She said it was a laser weapon attack, and that made five or six holes in my head, small holes, and it was bleeding profusely. I couldn't get it to stop bleeding, but it wasn't really painful. But I showed the images to Catherine Horton, to Tim, and both of them said that seems to be a laser weapon. And Amy Holam, when she did the scan, she said that you've been hit by laser weapons, microwave weapons, and she said under the skin there's a lot of radiation burns.
Correct.
So I've got that proof anyway now. So I'm biding my time with this report, and I will eventually be going to the hospital that sectioned me and trying to get hold of that psychiatrist who who kept me in there for 3.5 weeks. Whether
Damn.
he will whether he will have the guts to see me, I don't know, but it will be an interesting conversation.
I guess 3.5 weeks. I can't
Yes.
imagine that.
Yes,
Now,
well, I appealed straight away. Uh, it took them about 2 weeks before they organised the tribunal, which is like kind of a judge and jury thing. You can appeal when you are sectioned, but the success rate of the person that is sectioned actually winning the tribunal in the hospital, it's about it's kind of like a Saddam Hussein election. 99% lose, whereas with Saddam, 99% vote for him.
Yeah,
It's rigged.
exactly.
It's a kangaroo court. The judge at the tribunal as well, a very smarmy, arrogant person. I would name him actually, but I can't remember his name. I like to get these people named. It's
Exactly. Yeah.
they deserve it. But before the verdict was announced, the psychiatrist who kept me in there, Dr. Simon Taylor, he had a little word in the ear of the judge prior to the verdict being announced. I'm not saying anything was rigged, but it's not exactly good optics, is it?
No, it isn't.
Would I be allowed to have a word in the judge's ear before the verdict?
No. No, I don't.
it's a,
I mean,
it's a complete disgrace, and they think all victims are just stupid. But it's just corruption everywhere, in my opinion. But
yeah,
actually, Dr. Simon Taylor, he was okay. He was polite, nice, but basically what he's done is criminal negligence. He should be struck off. Dr. Amy Holam, she should definitely be struck off. I'd like to see her jailed personally. Did I say Amy Holam?
yeah, that was the wrong
Not
Amy.
Yeah, not Amy Holam. Dr. Amy Harford. I'd like to see her jailed. To be honest,
Well,
a horrible woman.
things like that can happen.
Yeah,
If you continually bring false accusations against an
yes,
individual or group of
yeah,
individuals, things happen. You know.
yes. They will get the justice served on them eventually. I'm 100% convinced of that. You look, I first got targeted in 2019, and it did more or less stop after 6 months. I really didn't get anything after that. I think I said before, when I first started helping and working with Alison, I was getting a bit of gang stalking again, but I just ignored it, and it stopped. On one occasion, I was walking my dog. Uh, our street's fairly quiet. A motorcyclist drove by me. He stopped in front of me across the road. It was The motorbike was black. He was all in black leather dressed. He'd got a black helmet on. He stopped at the side of me across the road, lifted his visor up, stared at me, and then just drove off. It, it was pathetic.
Yeah, maybe a bug hit him in the visor.
Yeah, yeah. I just got a few things like that for a couple of weeks, but it never really came back in comparison to what it was during the heavy stalking campaign at the beginning. And they even did it to my mum as well, and she was 77 at the time. It's disgraceful.
I can't imagine that. This
Yeah,
woman has earned respect
yeah.
her
She's a
whole
retired
life.
school teacher. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And
yeah. And
then they have the
organ.
audacity to section her,
Yeah, yeah. Well, attempt to.
attempt to. All right.
Yeah, she talked her way out of it, but I think they thought she would be on her own, and because my dad had died about 6 months prior to the targeting, and they used that against us as well, saying we were suffering stress, things like that. Uh, they thought that she would be on her own, but my sister was with her, so it kind of scuppered their plans a little bit. But they they weren't actually coming to see if she was all right because they wouldn't bring a police officer with them. It was done with the intention, I believe, of sectioning her. They wanted her to say something silly because she was probably upset about what happened to me a few hours earlier. So they were going to try and intimidate her with the intention of sectioning her because there would have been no police officer with them. But it backfired.
Oh, well, too bad for them, huh?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Stephen, it's getting to be that time again. And
right.
I'd like to thank you very much for joining me here this evening.
Yeah, shall I just give a plug for our website?
Oh, go right
It's
ahead.
yeah, it's I told Mark that I would. So it's www.targetedsurvivors.com. And if you go to the campaigns tab, you'll see all the campaigns that we are currently running.
Well, we'll see if we can push that and see if we can get us united more. Like, get in
Yes,
touch with
yeah,
each other like once a week. Like, we
that
can throw a link. I can throw you a link and just tell me, well, you're going to call me at 3 o'clock. Well, I'll make sure
yes,
that
that will be
we're open.
fine, and hopefully we'll be getting some more information regarding Tim's court cases. He's also suing one of the contractors as well, and we believe that's one of uh, the probably the company that is actually doing all the gang stalking
I
in the
see.
area where he is. We've got the name of the company. Tim's got the surveillance. They've got a surveillance contract with a very well-known police force. Let's say, Frank.
Okay. All
I
right.
think you all know they're always in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
They've
Okay.
got a surveillance contract with that police force, and
I
it's
see.
probably them that is doing all the gang stalking.
They had a camera. I can't think of the name of it. It's made in China. They're banning it everywhere.
Yes, yes,
I
yes,
know the UK and the US are doing it simultaneously. It's
yes,
a
and it's Chinese
Chinese,
technology, isn't it?
and it reports back to Beijing when it's supposed
Yes,
to.
yes, yeah. Well, that's how stupid they are over here. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, hopefully we will get some good results with Tim's various lawsuits,
Right?
and ultimately he's going to sue the Royal College of Psychiatrists as well uh, at a later date because he's too busy at the moment. He's got about 5 cases.
Wow,
Uh,
that's quite an undertaking right there.
Yep, yeah, and we only really need one to win, don't we? And we've that will be the beginning of the end.
Exactly.
We just need that one good precedent.
Well, we've got targeted justice. They're working
Yes,
towards the same goals.
and
And
ICATOR.
yes.
Yeah, and also, yeah, one little story I'll just tell you. I've already told you, Frank, about the car that was following Tim,
Okay.
and he this is how stupid they are. He managed to get photographic footage of it. He actually tweeted it out, the car, and the registration plate on the vehicle was clearly visible. And we've tapped it into the UK driver's vehicle licensing database, and that car registration plate doesn't show. Now, every car in the UK will come up when you type the registration number in, but that one did not. So it's pretty obvious who was driving the vehicle. It was either police or MI5.
Yes, definitely a plate or license
Yeah,
plate that was not on that site,
yeah.
not on
So that will
file.
be going in the court case, and we want the identity of the driver because obviously it's a criminal offence.
I think if you keep scanning deeper, you'll probably find it.
Yes, yes. Whether they will reveal that, even if they refuse to reveal the name, that's just suspicious. They can't
Right.
really win on that, whatever the outcome. It's and the thing is, in London, there's cameras everywhere. Why wasn't this vehicle apprehended by the police and compounded straight away, and the driver arrested? He's driving around the city centre of London in car that's got a false number plate on, with cameras everywhere. Normally, he would have been pulled up within minutes.
I see. And the local police would have knowledge of this play too, probably.
Definitely, yeah,
Yeah,
it would come up with. I mean, London's heavily scanned with cameras everywhere, street cameras. It would have shown up straight away. They would have been on, if that was an ordinary member of the public, they would have been arrested within 10 minutes.
I'm going to have to research the regular police MI5 and MI6, and
Yes,
I
yeah, I think Catherine Horton was right when she said it's being run by MI5 and police special branch. Each constabulary in the UK, Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire, all the different constabularies, they have a special unit in them called special branch, and I believe special branch are the ones that are they're supposed to be accountable to the chief constable, but in reality, they are the eyes and ears of MI5. Each constabulary has a special branch division, and the London Met Police, which is the biggest police force in the UK, they call theirs. They don't call it special branch. They call it the anti-terrorist unit, and it's
I see.
probably the anti-terrorist unit in London that's behind all the watch lists.
I see. You've got quite a group over there, and you have your goals, and I can see that you are reaching towards them, and you've got some great
Definitely,
people.
we're not backing down, Frank. Never.
Good. Well, I'm devoting or have devoted my life to it, to ending this
Yes,
everywhere.
yeah.
If it
You've
stops
done a
here,
fantastic job over the
huh,
years exposing it all. Yours was the first radio station that I came across when I was targeted, and it helped me a lot.
I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah, and Catherine Horton helped me a lot while I was being sectioned. She helped me, and she's done some great work over the years.
Yes, she has. Oh,
Hopefully, she'll come back one day.
I hope she does. And
Yeah, she's a
she's,
massive asset.
yes, she's taking a much deserved rest right now. And I'm,
Definitely, what they've done to her, it's disgusting. And everything what she's said over the years, it does seem to be correct regarding the UK. It's MI5.
right. She was actually thrown out of Switzerland and had to go back to
Yes,
Germany.
yes,
I was,
yes.
no, I don't know who did that. I don't whether that was words between the UK and Switzerland or what, but she had to leave.
Yes, it's this rogue network. Well, whether it's I mean probably a rogue network, but I think they've always been rogues to be honest, because they're just not accountable. But they've kind of interlocked, haven't they? These intelligence agencies,
They most
and
certainly have.
it's just like one big criminal syndicate at the very top.
Right.
And yeah, Tim went abroad and he got stalked in. He went to Nigeria and he got stalked there.
I don't think there's any place on the earth that you can go that you will not be stalked.
No, no, no. It's disgraceful, and in my opinion, it's the UK and the US that are ultimately behind it. I believe
Well,
because
we'll have to see. We still
yeah.
have the Chinese and the Russians. So,
Well, yeah, China's definitely involved because I saw a news report a couple of months ago. It said that over the last, was it 15 years, there have been 400,000 complaints from Chinese citizens of voice to skull.
oh yes, it's made its home there, shall we say?
Yeah, yeah. It's a horrible regime. It's disgraceful. I mean, how they've the is it the Uyghurs?
It's terrible.
Yeah,
I think the leader uses Botox because he never changes his
yeah,
expression.
yeah,
I have to run, and
yeah.
I want to thank you, Stephen, once again. I want to thank our listeners and supporters, which are one and the same.
It's been great, Frank. I've enjoyed it.
Okay, and we'll have you again soon.
Yeah,
And
hopefully I'll have some good updates regarding our court case.
yes, we need to get together with Ali soon and come up with a time. And
Yes, yeah. And we've got Tim. He's a real hero. He's
certainly
brilliant, and
is
he will definitely come on the show at a later date. But it's
beautiful. I
a bit
can't wait.
dangerous for him at the moment because he doesn't want to compromise the lawsuit.
Right? We don't need we don't need to jeopardize that.
No.
Okay, well,
But
good
yeah,
night, Stephen.
yes, yeah.
And
Good night, then, Frank.
I would like to say good night from Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Frank Allen.